How long does a personal injury case take to resolve? I get this question a lot. And if you've watched enough personal injury commercials, you're probably going to think, hey, I'm in a wreck. I'm just going to make one call and I'm going to get a check. Unfortunately, that's not reality. Most cases that are minor have a chance to settle within maybe just a few months. And in these, ideal cases, the injuries are small, there's no dispute on who's at fault, meaning it's a rear end collision or you've got witnesses saying that the other person's at fault, you've got video, you've got somebody admitting fault, something like that. And it means the injuries are relatively minor, maybe a trip to ER, some follow-up physical therapy or chiropractic care, and then the treatment's done. So if there's a relatively minor accident and a relatively minor injury, the case might resolve in just a matter of a few months. But on the other side, if you've got major injuries, they're probably not going to be better in a week or two, or maybe even a month. Sometimes it may take many months or even years. And the most important part in a personal injury case is getting the injury healed. Whoever's hurt needs to be able to get back to life, back to family, back to friends, back to work, whatever it is they do. So you've got to heal the injury. And what's going to happen if there's a major injury is the insurance company from the other side, they're probably going to give you a call and say, hey, look, you were just in an accident. We're stepping out really fast. How about we cut you a check and make all of this go away? So what they want to do is give you a few $1,000s or whatever the offer is and have you sign away all rights to bringing future claims. And that's a really bad idea because you're going to have a very quick settlement. But what if the injury requires extensive treatment into the future? If the medical treatment goes on for months or years, the medical bills 10, 20, hundreds of thousands of dollars, suddenly those few $1,000s at the beginning are completely inadequate and you signed away rights to any future claims. So it's important that significant claims are not quickly resolved because you need to know what the medical treatment's going to be in order to figure out the value of your case. Now, I touched on liability earlier or fault. And what I said is if it's really clear, like your rear end collision, there's a police report that says the other person's at fault, um, that could help a case resolve relatively quickly. But if it's not clear, where you have two people pointing at each other saying you're at fault, and there's maybe not a good video, there's maybe not a police report, and there's this dispute, well, the case might not resolve quickly because each side kind of digs in with their position, and it might take a judge or a jury, an arbitrator, somebody else to decide who's at fault. So in a circumstance like this, if somebody's in an accident and they're injured and they say, hey, I'm injured, I need to be compensated, well, you might hear from the insurance company for the other side that the person they insured said, no, you're at fault, we're not paying you anything. And that's going to make the case take longer. Also, some insurance companies are pretty efficient and some are not. And for the insurance company to pay out really quickly, if it's a low number, that's fine. But if it's a big number, the insurance companies are making interest, they're making money off their investments. So their incentive is to hold on to their money longer and drag the case out longer. So depending which insurance company is on the other side, that might help the case resolve sooner or much later. So when medical treatment is resolved, that's where you get into the negotiations phase of a case. And generally what happens is you or your attorney, if you've got an attorney, will put together a demand letter, and the demand letter goes to the person that caused the accident and their insurance carrier, sometimes just their insurance carrier, and it's going to be a narrative of why the other person is at fault and how much you should get paid. So it's going to start out with a section on liability, which is just fault. So this is telling the insurance company, hey, the person or company that you insure is at fault, so you need to pay money. And in this case, if you've got a police report, showing that they're at fault, video, something like that, you're going to want to include that because the insurance company needs to justify why they're paying money. And the first thing they need to know is that the person or entity they insure is at fault. Now, the second thing for your demand letter is how big of a number do you want? So what is your number based on? Well, the first thing it's based on is your medical treatment and your medical bills. So in this case, although everyone thinks their bills are private and shouldn't be disclosed, if you have injuries and you had to get medical care to recover from those injuries, now they are at issue, which means you need to disclose those records to the insurance company. So you send the insurance company the records you have for your treatment after the accident to get better. Now, if you had an accident, an injury, whatever, and then you caught pneumonia from a different purpose, well, it doesn't really make sense to put in your treatment records for pneumonia because it's not related to the accident. So you want to include the care that's related to the accident, and you want to include the bills for your care related to the accident. So the records, the reports are going to show the insurance carrier the treatment that was necessary, and it'll also show how long you treated. And the length of time is important because the next thing you're going to ask for is pain and suffering. And so if you had a simple injury and it resolved in a day or two, your amount of pain and suffering is going to be about this big. If you have a injury that took months or even years to resolve, your claim for pain and suffering is going to be much larger. Also included in your demand letter if you missed work, and so you couldn't work for a certain amount of time, you're going to show calculations. Hey, this is how much I work. This is how much I get paid per hour, or this is my salary. These are the days off I had to take because of this, maybe for going to the doctor. And so you're going to ask for that as well. You're going to send this demand letter to the insurance company. They're going to evaluate it. They're not going to come back to you in the next day or two. Some of them are pretty quick, which may mean weeks. Some will be 30 days. Maybe they'll want 60 days. So it's not going to be a super quick process. But then once they get the letter, they're going to have the adjuster, or if it's a larger claim, they're going to have a team roundtable it, and they're going to come up with a range of, they call it authority, meaning, hey, we'll settle this case between this number and this number. So then they will send you back an offer, and their offer is going to be the low number. So don't ever think you're going to get the high number first. That just doesn't happen. Well, I'll never say never. I suppose it could. I haven't seen it happen, although I've only been licensed for about a quarter century, so disregard that. Anyway, you're going to get a number back. It's going to be low, and then you're going to continue the negotiation process with them to try to resolve the case. Now, this might be all it takes, and your case is going to be done not long after your treatment is done. Or you're going to get an insurance company that says, you know what, we're not, our person's not at fault, or we don't believe your records, your medical treatment is related to the accident. So we're either going to give you this super lowball number, or we're not even going to make an offer. Well, in that case, you got to go file a lawsuit. And depending where you are, lawsuits take time. Courts get backed up. So you can't just walk in and say, hey, I'm filing a lawsuit. Here's my complaint. Give me a trial date next week. It doesn't work that way. Here in Nevada, generally it's going to happen if you're going on the trial track. You're going to file a complaint. You're going to get lawyers for you. Well, assuming you have a lawyer, your lawyer is going to do all this. You're not going to, but you can do it yourself. The other side's going to have a lawyer. You're going to work out a time for discovery. That means you get all the documents, you get all the records, you get the depositions of people, you file whatever motions you need to file. This is probably going to be about a year. And then after that is going to be the trial. So there could be quite a bit of time between the accident and filing the lawsuit. And then once the lawsuit's filed, it can be quite a long time from the filing of the lawsuit to the case settling or to the actual trial being completed. And if it's a really big loss for the insurance company, there might even be an appeal, which is going to take even more time. So while some cases are resolved relatively quickly, others can really take a long period of time. But the number one important factor is to get compensated for your injuries, not just to get a quick settlement. Because if you just get a quick settlement, you might be leaving a ton of money on the table, which is not a good future plan for your future care. If you have questions about your personal injury case and you happen to live in Nevada where I practice law, drop me an email or give me a call. We can chat about it. No pressure, no obligation, just answers.